Good morning, everybody. My name is Dr. Laurence Leigh. I am British by birth, and I've studied and worked and taught at universities all over the world. I have a master's degree in economics from Cambridge University in England and an MBA from the London Business School, which is part of London University. After a time in business and consulting, I then took a PhD from the University of North Carolina in the United States. My teaching, research and consulting interests have been in the area of applied economics, business management and marketing, particularly international marketing. My PhD dissertation was related to public policy evaluation in the sense that I was looking at the effects of the airline deregulation that was taking place in the United States and how it affected the strategies, particularly the structure of the airline routes of the major airlines in the United States. Since then, I have taught in the US, Europe and the Middle East. Most recently, as a full-time professor, I taught at the American University of Beirut. And I imagine many of you know this, but the President of Afghanistan, Mr. Ashraf Ghani, did his undergraduate degree at the AUB. And incidentally, he met his wife there, a Lebanese lady. I recently returned to Beirut, fortunately before the disaster that took place recently, as you know, the awful explosion there. But I was there a couple of years ago to be a guest speaker at a forum on corporate social responsibility, which again indicates my interest in public policy. Now, this course is divided into 6 lessons, 45 minutes each lesson, and these lessons are then divided into 3 sessions of 15 minutes approximately each one. After each lesson, there will be a Q&A session that I will be introducing, and that too will take about 15 minutes for each session. Students who successfully complete this course will have learnt about the various criteria that are used in public policy initiatives and their evaluation. And the ways in which these programs to achieve public policy objectives can be developed, analyzed, and then evaluated before their implementation and then after they have been implemented. Finally, I will also give you some advice on how to present the results of your public policy evaluation work, both in terms of writing reports and also, but very importantly, giving oral presentations a bit like this one that I'm doing for you now. So what is public policy? Well, a policy is a set of principles that a government organization has adopted in relation to a particular issue. I can think up a few examples right now. Things like we need to save lives by reducing road accidents. We need to do things to ensure that children receive a primary education. They could be health policies. How can we reduce mortality rates associated with childbirth? All of these are potential public policy areas. Obviously, during this course, I can't give you detailed advice into how to set about evaluating policies in all of these different areas. But what I will be doing, I will be taking, in fact, that first example on this slide, saving lives by reducing road accidents, be taking you through in a very general way, and certainly it's not a subject I've researched myself at all, how to set about researching this issue and evaluating the policy alternatives that could be associated with it. Well, let's try and give a brief definition of what public policy evaluation is. I described it here as public policy evaluation is a process of objective, systematic, and empirical examination of the effects of public policies and the programs that are related to them and designed to achieve the public policy objectives. Well, why is this important? It's pretty obvious, really. In most countries, government expenditures represent 40 to 50% of GDP. There are a few countries in Europe, I think France is one of them, where actually public expenditure is slightly higher than 50% of GDP. And so there is a tremendous amount of money riding on doing public policy well. Let's just think of what all this money is spent on. Well, think about the responsibilities that now in most countries weigh on the budgets of their governments. Defense spending, a justice system, policing, healthcare in most countries now is largely financed from central government. Education, again, some of it is in the private sector, true. But again, an awful lot of education expenditure is paid for directly by the government. And remember, in areas like healthcare and education, even if the government is not the provider of those services, they also have a role as a regulator to ensure that the private providers of those services are doing them in a correct and efficient and valuable way. Roads, again, almost entirely something that is paid for by government, either central government or local governments. And finally on this list, and it's clearly not a complete list, there are all sorts of other infrastructure projects in any country, including Afghanistan, which are mainly financed by the government. Bridges, airports, dams, etc. Well, why do governments do this? Again, perhaps a rather obvious question, but let's just think about it. Governments take responsibility for these services because they are mostly services that need to be provided for the community as a whole. And this is because either it's not possible to provide market-based solutions. For example, in a road system, it's difficult to conceive of different private companies providing competing road systems between different cities. It clearly would be impossibly complicated and wasteful. Or again, for social and political reasons, the government decides that it should offer services that are crucial for the development of society as a whole. In fact, one of the economists whose name was associated with free enterprise and laissez-faire, Adam Smith, and we'll talk about him again later, he made it clear in his writings that he thought the government should provide education. Sometimes politicians, right-wing politicians, give the idea that Adam Smith believed that nothing or the minimum should be provided by the government. Not true. He saw education, and he was a professor himself, as something very important for the community as a whole, and should be provided by the central government. In fact, some of these services that I've just talked about are called public goods by economists. Services such as defence, policing, courts of law are public goods. Why? Because they're goods that benefit everybody communally and cannot be charged according to the individual usage by the person who's using them. Well, yes, here I do talk about this. Services that should be provided by the government and which should be provided by competitors in free markets. That's a topic that is continually argued about by politicians. Laissez-faire, that French word, is used to describe the policy of leaving as much as possible to free enterprise. However, as I said earlier, even the most ardent supporters of laissez-faire agree that certain public goods have to be provided by the government, and we need effective programs to make that provision. I use that word program. What is a program? Well, a program is a specific government activity that is designed to achieve a policy objective. For example, going back to road accidents, what programs could make road accidents diminish? Well, I've just thrown up here 3 possible examples. Make cell phone use by drivers illegal. Have a program to improve road signs and the markings on the road to indicate lanes to prevent dangerous overtaking. Improve the testing of all vehicles to see that their brakes work forward, the brakes work properly, that their lighting is efficient and is working properly. As we shall see during this course, there are often many, many different alternative programs that would achieve the policy objective of reducing road accidents. And our job as evaluators is, one, to think up potential programs that could do this effectively, then evaluate those programs and recommend the programs that we think are going to be the most effective and cost efficient in terms of the costs of actually implementing such programs. And what I'll be doing during this course is giving you what I call a public policy evaluation model, which will be a guide. It's not a precise list of things that you have to do, but it is designed to be a guide to help you organize your thinking, organize your research in order to reach sensible conclusions in relation to a particular public policy objective. So here we are at the end of the first session of Lesson 1.